She banged on the door like the house owed her money. "I'm the HOA president. Open this door or I'm calling 911." And then, she actually did it. This woman, who looked like a cross between a failed politician and a reality TV villain, called the cops on my wife because, get this, she didn't answer the door. That's it. No yelling, no threats, no music blasting. Just silence. But see, what Margaret didn't know, what nobody in that cookie-cutter neighborhood of manicured lawns and pastel mailboxes knew, was who my wife really was. And by the time the cuffs clicked around Margaret's wrists, it was too late to backpedal. The damage was done. Her reign was over. But let me back up a sec. When we first moved into Whispering Grove Estates, I thought we were finally catching a break. New teaching job for me, a quieter life outside the city, and for my wife Naomi, it was supposed to be a chance to breathe after years in law enforcement. We wanted simple, calm, predictable. But what we got was Margaret. Margaret DeWitt, HOA president, self-appointed enforcer of all things beige and lifeless. The woman wore a full business suit at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. She strutted through the streets like she was running for mayor of Pleasantville. First thing she said to us, not welcome or need help unloading. No. She walked right up with a tape measure, squinted at our moving truck and said, "Violation. Your bumper is 16.5 inches from the curb. Limit's 15. I thought she was joking. Naomi didn't. Naomi was watching, analyzing, like a detective walking into a fresh crime scene. She didn't argue, didn't flinch, just nodded, thanked her, and went back to unloading. Me? I stood there wondering if we'd just stepped into some kind of HOA-sponsored boot camp. Over the next few days, Margaret made it her mission to break us in like wild horses. Our doormat was too big, our flower pots too colorful, and apparently the shade of blue on Naomi's car wasn't approved. She had a binder the size of a phone book full of rules, and she wielded it like a Bible. But Naomi, she didn't get mad. She got quiet. That kind of quiet that says she's already planning 10 moves ahead. Every petty interaction, every insult, every thinly veiled threat, Naomi documented all of it. Dates, times, even weather conditions. When I asked her why the weather mattered, she just smiled and said, "It always matters when power's being abused." That's when I realized something. Naomi wasn't just playing along, she was building a case, and she wasn't the only one with stories. Our neighbor Bill, retired Navy, told me his wife's rose garden, 20 years old, got bulldozed the week after she spoke out against Margaret at a board meeting. Another neighbor got fined for asymmetrical lawn lines. You think I'm exaggerating? Bill had laser-level measurements to prove it. Didn't matter. Margaret ran that place like a fiefdom, and folks either bowed down or got driven out. Then came Saturday. I was heading to school for weekend tutoring, some extra cash to help with the mortgage, while Naomi stayed home for what we hoped would be a peaceful morning. She was in her pajamas, messy bun, sipping coffee in front of her laptop. Looked like any suburban wife enjoying a lazy day. But under that calm exterior, Naomi was working. I saw the police department seal flicker on her screen before she minimized it. I didn't think much of it at the time, until the doorbell rang. Not once, not twice, but a full-on assault, rapid-fire rings followed by banging like the house was on fire. Margaret. She was outside shouting about defiance, claiming Naomi was hiding from legitimate authority. The neighbors started peeking out. Some crossed the street to watch the circus. And then, Margaret made the call. Possible domestic violence, she told 911. Crying, distressing sounds, no one answering the door. I'm very concerned for her safety. And right then, Naomi stood up, calmly, walked over to her phone, dialed a number. "Hey Frank," she said. "You're about to get a call about 217 Maple Lane. Yeah, it's me. Just wanted to give you a heads up." 5 minutes later, 2 cruisers pulled up, body cams rolling, officers composed. They spoke to Margaret first, who launched into her dramatic monologue like she was auditioning for Law and Order. "I feared for her life," she said. "I thought she was being abused." Then they rang the bell. Naomi answered. And y'all, she was glowing. Not just with confidence, but that kind of calm that comes from knowing exactly what's about to happen. "Are you Naomi Carter?" the officer asked. "I am," she said. "And as you can see, I'm fine." I chose not to answer because the person outside was behaving erratically. I have video of the entire incident if you'd like to review it. Margaret, from behind them, hissed, "She ignored me. She thinks she's above the rules. Naomi turned to her slowly and said with absolute precision, "No, I don't. But you're not the law. You're a civilian, with a clipboard, who just made a false police report." The crowd gasped. No joke, gasped. Someone even clapped. Margaret turned red, like full tomato mode, and stormed off screaming, "You'll regret this!" And for a while, I thought we would. That Monday, I got called into the principal's office at school, accused of stalking Margaret. They had photos, doctored ones, of me lurking near her home. You know what it actually was? Me walking my dog, checking my mail. But it didn't matter. She'd used her connections to paint me as a threat, and just like that, I was placed on administrative leave. 15 years of teaching, gone in a heartbeat. I came home broken. But Naomi, she didn't panic, she didn't cry. She went into full command mode, her posture straightened, voice clipped. She said, "Margaret thinks she won. She's wrong. Now we finish what we started." 2 days later, a police cruiser showed up in front of Margaret's house. Officer delivered a letter. Body cam recorded the whole thing. Naomi showed it to me later like she was proud of a well-executed chess move. Margaret, of course, bragged to her friends, said she was going to destroy Naomi. She even took a selfie at the police station lobby. And then, the moment. The officer knocked on a door marked Chief of Police. Margaret strutted in, ready to rant, and froze. Because behind that desk, sitting in full uniform, badge shining in the sunlight, was my wife. Naomi didn't say a word at first, just let the silence wrap around Margaret like a noose. "Sit down," she finally said. It wasn't a request. Margaret crumbled into the chair. "This is entrapment," she sputtered. Naomi opened 5 folders and laid them on the desk. Folder 1, harassment complaints, 15 families forced to move. Folder 2, false citations, petty fines. Folder 3, racist remarks, including one against the Rodriguez family. Folder 4, manipulated evidence against me. Folder 5, her own call to 911, knowingly false, caught on camera. By the time the cuffs went on, Margaret was sobbing. Neighbors clapped. Bill had tears in his eyes. The Rodriguez family hugged like justice had finally arrived. That weekend, the whole neighborhood threw a block party, the first one in 5 years. Kids played, Bill fired up his grill, and Naomi? She didn't make a speech. She didn't take credit. She just handed out tamales and smiled. The new family who bought Margaret's house asked about the HOA. Bill told them, "We have rules, but we don't call the cops on people for ignoring doorbells." And just like that, peace returned. But you know what stuck with me? Naomi's words the night before the hearing. "Bullies," she said, "always forget that the new person they're trying to scare might be exactly the wrong person to mess with." Yeah, she was right. Now let's talk about it. Was Naomi too harsh, or was this justice? What would you have done if your HOA crossed the line? Drop a comment below, especially if you've ever dealt with a power-tripping neighbor like Margaret. Let's hear your story.